Hello, and welcome all to Movie Hunter, the show that tracks down the quality of all sorts of movies. My name is Hunter, and today in the 52nd episode, our target is Iron Lung, produced and distributed by Markiplier Studios. On March 10th, 2022, the video game Iron Lung was released for Windows, with a Nintendo Switch port released on December 19th, 2022. On October 15th, 2025, it received a PlayStation 5 port, and on December 12th, 2025, it was released for Android. The game was developed, published, and composed by David Szymanski, with the game being inspired by his trip to Scotland with his wife, during which they visited a Loch Ness museum. On April 21st, 2023, Mark Fischbach announced that he would be adapting Iron Lung into a film, which was announced via a teaser trailer uploaded to his YouTube channel Markiplier. The makeup designer, Anna Fugate, documented that filming began on March 7th, 2023, and ended on May 1st. The film broke the record for containing the most fake blood of any horror film. The record was previously held by the 2013 Evil Dead film. Iron Lung had 80,000 gallons, or 300,000 liters, and Evil Dead had 50,000 gallons, or 190,000 liters. The official trailer was uploaded to the Markiplier channel on October 14, 2023, and in June 2024, he confirmed that the film was finished and was in the process of negotiating its release. The final trailer was uploaded on December 5th, 2025, and was released to theaters on January 30th, 2026. It was initially planned to release in 60 independent US theaters, but due to fans directly requesting the film's release to their local theaters, 4,161 theaters were internationally showing the film on the day of its release. The film made $52 million on a budget of $3 to $4 million. It was directed, written, and edited by Mark Fischbach, and was based on the video game of the same name by David Szymanski. It was produced by Will Hyde and Jeff Giro, and the cinematographer was Philip Roy. The music was by Andrew Holschult, and is a well-known video game composer in his first film soundtrack. The film stars Mark Fischbach, Carolina Kaplan, Troy Baker, Elsie Lovelock, Ellie Lamont, Mick Lawyer, David Petit, Sean McLaughlin, Alana Pierce, Isaac McKee, and David Szymanski. Before I begin my recap of the film, I'd like to note, given that this is a recent film, that full spoilers will be discussed ahead. Additionally, I saw this in theaters over a month ago, where I couldn't take notes like I always do when I watch a film that I'm going to review, and I don't have the film on hand to re-watch. All that's to say is that this recap will probably not be as good as my previous ones, most likely, but I'll do my best. Also, the film is very confusing, as I'll discuss in my actual review, but here goes nothing. The film opens by letting us know that it takes place in a distant future, where humans have massively expanded space travel. However, one day, all at once, all the planets and stars vanished, in an event called the Quiet Rapture by those who survived by being in space. Struggling to survive with the limited resources and people, they discover a moon which is covered in an ocean of blood, which they have reason to believe could hold valuable resources to humanity's continued survival. A convict named Simon, arrested for his involvement with the destruction of Filament Station, is sent to investigate. He is told that he is the first person they've sent down there, and that they'll free him upon his success. He is welded shut in a submarine called SM-13, nicknamed the Iron Lung, which he must pilot, with the camera being his only means of seeing outside. Simon traverses the blood ocean as 4 lights slowly diminish, displaying the oxygen remaining. When he captures a photo of a skeleton, the crew pulls him back up to analyze his findings. They decide to send him back down, with resources not being available to weld him inside a second time. Wanting to know what's going on but being ignored, Simon clicks the camera button, unknowingly radiating the crew outside, later being told that the camera uses X-rays to see through the blood. Simon helplessly apologizes, being sent back down to resume his mission. Investigating the sub, Simon discovers an audio log from the previous pilot of the Iron Lung, confirming his suspicions that he was lied to about being the first one down here. He also discovers a bracelet that he wears from here on out. He continues collecting samples, occasionally communicating to the commander through the radio. When he collects one sample, he is knocked unconscious, which first begins his suspicions of hallucinating and losing his grip on reality. This suspicion is furthered when he finds the wrecked sub of SM-8, and a woman from the sub begins communicating with him, only for her to call Simon by name, and Simon to discover that the radio wasn't plugged into anything. In a vision, Simon sees his sub destroyed, and he breaks the surface of the blood ocean and into a blood-red, stormy sky, where a giant eye watches him. He awakes again to things mostly back to normal, with him communicating with the commander again, telling her what happened. She reveals that he hadn't said anything for days, far longer than his oxygen supply should have allowed. Nonetheless, the commander begs him to collect data from the other sub, as it may save humanity, further humanizing herself to him by revealing her name to be Ava. When Ava promises to save him herself if he grabs the data, Simon agrees. As he progresses, the iron lung begins filling with blood, and Simon learns that Ava cannot save him, but begs him to collect the data anyways to save humanity, right before the monster destroys her sub. As blood fills the sub and fleshy material grows on the walls, Simon grabs the black box and a life vest that he ties it to. When Simon's arms become attached to the glowing material, he gets one free, but the other rips off as he pulls away. When the monster's teeth stick into the sub, Simon, now with one arm, grabs the fire extinguisher, whacking the teeth. Realizing his fate is sealed and that the contents of the black box go beyond him, he sabotages the sub, killing the monster alongside himself. The final shot shows the life vest floating atop the ocean of blood, with the black box attached. Let's start by talking about the protagonist, Simon. I, along with many others, was curious to see if Mark had what it took to simultaneously direct, write, edit, and star in his first ever feature film. A difficult task, to be sure, made even more difficult by the fact that his character would be the only character the audience sees for the vast majority of the film. Obviously, Markiplier wasn't new to this whole thing, with his experience on YouTube Originals, A Heist with Markiplier, and In Space with Markiplier being easy examples to point to. But this film would really bring him out of his YouTube roots, and many wondered how he would adapt to this new atmosphere. Personally, I think he did a great job, with me very quickly being able to stop seeing Markiplier and start seeing Simon. I should note, though, that while I probably know more about Markiplier than the average person, if you put me in a room with a bunch of Markiplier fans, odds are I'll know the least out of everyone in the room. Point is, I think that Mark balanced everything greatly, and his passion for it shows in everything, and his prior experience really aided to the project, I think. More to the actual film here, I really liked the philosophy behind it too. This world of cosmic horror really allows Simon to display an interesting reality of survival. As I mentioned, I'm not an avid Markiplier fan, but I've seen a few of his videos where he's just sort of talking about things, and I've gotta say, I really appreciate his down-to-earth nature, and while I don't agree with everything he says, I really like his ideas about things. I think this really comes through with his character Simon, and I really came to appreciate and root for Simon in his quest to live. The ending is especially sad as it becomes more and more clear not only to us, the audience, but to Simon, that Simon isn't going to make it out of this. His final moments being spent doing the right thing and purposely sabotaging his sub for the sake of what remains of humanity is a really bittersweet end to his character. He also has an epic final moment before he dies, with him taking out the monster's teeth and calling himself the Butcher just like everyone else has been. I've also got to admire the build-up to this moment too, with the mundanity of the sub's activities really humanizing Simon, while also remaining entertaining as the mystery keeps you engaged. Overall, I just really came to like Simon, and his impossible quest was extremely engaging. Simon really exceeded my expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised by his character and Mark's ability to adapt to this new environment. Next, I want to talk about what is easily the best and worst part of the film, and that is the mystery. The mystery is easily the greatest intrigue with the film, as was very true with the game it originated from as well. The idea that all the planets just disappeared, leaving behind only those in space, is an instantly intriguing idea, and the same goes for a moon covered in an ocean of blood. I couldn't tell you a better hook if I tried. But beyond the mystery of the blood, the monster. Or I'm sorry. But beyond that, the mystery of the blood, the monster, the light, the giant eye in the sky, the mysterious voices, all of it is so interesting and compelling, and I want to know much more. But that leads me to my biggest problem. I feel like I don't know much coming out of it. A certain degree of that is to be expected, of course. Cosmic horror kind of fails if it's too understandable. A major reason for it being scary and fascinating is because of the unknown. However, I feel like there is a lack of tangible things to hold on to. A decent example is Project Hail Mary, which I'm currently listening to the audiobook for in preparation for the movie. In the book, a lot is unknown, with the main character awaking in a place unknown to him, but piece by piece, and he, and by extension the audience, begins to figure it out. While Iron Lung is going for a much different feel, I think it really could have benefited from a moment of shocked silence from Simon and the audience. A reveal that really just stuns you with surprise. A good example would be the bumps that form on Simon's arms towards the end, along with his face eventually. Many have speculated that it was radiation from constant use of the camera, which I'm inclined to agree with, but I think it would have been cool to get concrete confirmation of it. Another example would be the bracelet Simon gets, and or more information on Simon's past and the people he affiliated with. I explored a few rabbit holes within the film's wiki, and there is some really interesting stuff here that I wish we at least got more hints towards. Overall, the mystery is properly engaging, and those final 15 minutes or so, starting at the part where Simon's arms are revealed to be all messed up, are a great payoff to the entire film, with the final action sequence easily being my favorite part of the film. Some might disagree with me and say that the mystery was properly handled, and honestly, I can't even disagree with them too much, as wanting more is a pretty good sign of quality of a work. I've also heard that it's even much better the second time around, which I was quite surprised to hear, and I'd very much be interested in giving the film a second go-around. I give Iron Lung an 8 out of 10 for being a consistently entertaining film. It's quite beyond my usual scope of movies I watch, and as so, my inexperience probably shines through in my review. But as an inspiring movie watcher, this was a very interesting film to dip my toe into, and I had a great time watching it, made even better by the fact that I went and saw it with so many of my friends, in an experience that I've never really had before and left me feeling very happy. Despite not being perfect, I can wholeheartedly recommend Iron Lung. The passion behind it is felt in everything, and I'm very excited to see what Markiplier will do next. Simon made for a great character to follow, and the mystery was extremely engaging. Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to share any opinions you had on the movie. A new episode releases each week, so stay tuned to see which film I cover next. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.